Well, first off, congratulations on completing your phase 2 of cardiac rehab. I'm Brennan and this is Ethan, and we are about to show you strength training that you can do at home. Okay, first we're going to start with arm exercises, but before you start exercising, we want to make sure that you warm up for 5 to 10 minutes. This can easily be just a walk to your mailbox or just standing in place doing high knees. And if you can't stand in place and do high knees, you can always sit down and do high knees while you're seated. Now, we're first going to grab our weights. Now, weights can be anything and everything. You just basically need resistance. So you can use a water bottle, you can use a milk jug, you can use even soup cans to give resistance. I really like water jugs or milk jugs because you can just fill them a little bit with water as you gradually progress through your resistance training and actually make it a little bit harder every time you start. Another thing that's really important is that we are working on muscular endurance. Therefore, we are going to use low weight with high repetitions. So we are going to use, I'm using a 2-pound weight, Ethan's using a 5-pound weight. Use whatever feels best for you, but we're going to try to complete 10 to 15 repetitions. So you don't want to be struggling to get that first 10. You want to definitely be able to at least complete each full range of motion throughout each rep. Now, it's also important to continue strength training with aerobic training. So I do not want you to just do this resistance training. We also want you to do aerobic training as well. So the first exercise that we're going to complete is the bicep curl. So I'm going to be seated and show a modified version of it. Ethan's going to stand, and we're both just going to curl all the way up and all the way down. We want to make sure that we keep our shoulders in line. As you see Ethan, he's not rocking his arms up. He's keeping his shoulders in line, and we're only flexing at the elbow. Now you can keep doing this, and we're going to try to do at least 10 to 15 repetitions. Now the next exercise that we're going to move on to is the triceps. So this has many different modifications, but one of them is we're going to hold the weight above our head, so one-handed, and we're going to keep our elbow close to our head, and we're just going to extend upward and then back down. And we want to make sure that we're using slow contractions. We're not trying to go really fast, just really relaxed and stretched. Another one that you can also do is you can grab the weight with 2 hands. You can put it behind you like this and go all the way down. As you see, men, sometimes it's harder to keep your elbows in, but try to keep those elbows as far into your head as possible. We don't want this extension of way out here. We want it as in as possible. Another one can be the bent over row. I'm just going to demonstrate it right here, but you can hold on to something, bend your arm, and extend backwards. Make sure we're not extending with our shoulder back up. We do not want to do that. We want to keep our shoulder where it is and only bend at the elbow. Awesome. Okay, the next one that we're going to do is we're going to work on the shoulders. So the first shoulder exercise is going to be the lateral raise. The lateral raise is going to go out. I'm just going to have Ethan perform this so we're not in the way. So we're just going to extend out. As you can see, he's keeping his elbows slightly bent, not fully extended, and his shoulders, he's bringing the weight all the way parallel to his shoulders. We do not want to extend past this parallel position. And then the next one is going to be a frontal raise. So he's going to turn kind of facing me so you can see this. And this time he's going to extend all the way up and stop parallel with his shoulders and then bring the weight all the way back down. Again, we don't want to pass that parallel position, and we want to keep this slight bend in the elbow. Now the next one is going to be the upright row position. We can both do this at the same time. But we're just going to I'm going to use 2 weights. You could use 1, but we're going to do 2 weights, and we're just going to extend straight up. Just elbows are going straight up and straight back down. We don't want to keep the weight out and pull it in. We just want to keep going straight, almost like you're going to try to hit your chin, and then all the way back down. And that is an upright row. The next shoulder exercise that we're going to do is the shoulder press. I'm going to sit down again because this can be a modified version. We want to keep our elbows at 90 degrees, and then we're going to extend upwards as a shoulder press. We don't want to make sure that we're pushing out with the weights. Make sure everything is in line. We want a perfect L to start out and then just push up. Now this one is very tricky, and your shoulder is in a position that can be very liable for injury. So we want to make sure that we're keeping everything in line. Do not try to use really, really heavy weight. We just want to be relaxed and push forward. And again, we're doing all of these for at least 10 to 15 repetitions. The next thing that we're going to move on is to the chest. So this one can be very, exercise can be very hard sometimes, but we're going to use the wall. I do not recommend this exercise for everybody, but so Ethan's going to put his shoulders in line, and elbows in line, and wrist in line. You want to make sure all of this is in line together, and you're going to briefly go back just a little bit, and you're going to do a push-up. All the way down, all the way back. This is really good for your chest muscles. Now, if you want to try to make this exercise a little bit harder, Ethan can move over here to this counter, and he can actually go down a little bit where he's at more of an incline. This is going to increase using more chest muscles. And just remember to keep, the most important key of this exercise is to keep your elbows and your wrists and your shoulders in line. You do not want all of this out of line, or it can hurt your back. So talking about your back, we're actually going to move on to some back exercise. This one, we are going to be seated in the chair. So I'll demonstrate this one. But we're going to sit, and the reason why we're sitting is so that we deactivate our glutes. We want to make sure that we're only using our back muscles. And so right now we're going to just cross our hands over our chest, and we are going to slightly bend down and then bend all the way back up. Now this might be very easy for y'all. So this is when we can take some weight and we can cross it against our chest, and we can bend down and bend back up. And this is a back flexion, and so this will really work our lower back and strengthen it. Make sure you try to keep your head in line as well. So as we go down, don't be like looking up like this. Just keep your head straight with your back and come back up. And then the next one is going to be the bent over row. So we can both do this one. I'm going to do sideways, and Ethan's going to face you. But we're going to bend over, slight bend in the back, and we're going to have our elbows in, tucked to our side, and we're going to extend back like we're rowing. So you go all the way down, extend back. It's like you're trying to push your shoulder blades together. If you had someone put their hand there, you would try to pinch really hard their hand between your shoulder blades. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the lower portion of the body, or the legs. The first exercise that we're going to show you is the body squat. And so Ethan's going to show some versions of the body squat. First he's going to do a deeper squat, which some of y'all might not be able to go all the way down, but we're going to show modifications of that. So the first one is all the way down. As you see, he puts all of his weight in his heels, and his knees are not passing the front of his toes. This is a big deal. Knees do not need to pass the front of the toes because that can injure your knees significantly. So the next version he's going to do is just a little lighter bend. So you don't have to go all the way down. He's just going to go slightly down and back up. And so this is probably where most of y'all will be. Do not feel like you need to go all the way to 90 degrees. Also, he can grab on, say, to the counter and do a squat if he needs to do that. The next exercise that we will be doing is the sit to stand. So it's basically like a squat, but it's kind of a modified version. It helps you put your weight in your heels, which your weight should be in your heels every time you squat. So on this version, I guess I'll move the chair out just a little bit. We want to make sure that our weight is in our heels, and then we're just going to squat all the way back down, sit completely, and come all the way back up. Remember that when you're coming back up, you want to keep your heel or your weight in your heels. We don't want to get on our toes and go forward. We just want all of our weight in our heels and push through heels. And then the next exercise that we are going to use is going to be the leg extensions and leg abductions. So this is really going to work your hamstrings as well as your glutes. And so Ethan is going to demonstrate this. His first one that he's going to do is, I'm going to come on this side, is a leg extension. So this is where he's going to bring his legs straight back and then forward. Try to get back as far as you can, but don't do it where you're having to go all the way forward. And try to keep your leg as straight as possible going back. And then the next, and you'll do that on one leg and then switch to the other. But the next one is going to be, I'm trying to think of the best way to show this one, is an abduction exercise. So Ethan's basically, I guess we'll go forward. How about that? So Ethan's going to stand behind the chair right here, and he is going to bring his left leg out all as far as he can and back in. And this is definitely going to work the lateral portion of your leg and help with stability. Again, it's also working your glutes and activating balance as well.